is that going?
Hey.
No.
It dawned on me that I am really serving God.
What makes you think that you messed up so bad that God can no longer accept you?
I remember after like a year with questions while listening to sermons and prayer, yes, we are a total sum of what we have been told. Mr. Kajambiya.
Sir.
How are you, my brother?
I'm fine.
I'm Minister of God. I'm okay. So, there is this new FIFA. Is it even called FIFA now? They changed the name.
Okay.
24 is different from all other. I've not played 24 so far, but we are going to find out.
I'm not sure whether you trust your word.
So today we are here.
So which team are you using?
My team.
Okay, you use the one you support. Don't use the one.
You have started those things.
Yes.
Okay.
Like this is how you test your loyalty.
Okay. You test yours too.
Of course, mine is known. Yes, sir. But okay, I need to make a disclaimer. It's been years since I last played. I don't even remember which formation they used.
Why do you want to scare me?
No, I'm not scaring you, but I need to make
people like this. They be like me. I've not been doing this, and they beat you.
I need to make it clear so that as you're playing, you know it. First of all, these are athlete things. So it's not a do or die.
At the end of the day, they want to see the winner and the winner. Or the winning. Okay.
Moment of truth.
Moment of truth. And of course, as we are playing, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and would love to know. You are my fellow minister, and by the way, I honor you so much. I follow you on all social media platforms. I think I get to know everything you put there. Apart from that, I'm so glad that we attend the same ministry from our father, Apostle Grace Rubega. And I've seen you from day one, from when I came to see Mr. Kajambiya. You've been a blessing to my life, and you've served God. I know even certain things, like there are certain ministries maybe people don't know that you do, but you humble me each time I see you go out in such ministries and you reach out to the young people. You've been you are a pattern to this generation. So what inspires you basically joining ministry and doing ministry?
Ministry.
Yeah.
My ministry is
as we start.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm allowed to play now while we are chatting. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, ministry, it's really a long story, but I think I was from a very early age, I was a musical person.
Okay.
Hey, Ref. This conversation. Anyway, so I was saying, me and music, from a very early stage, I just love music, but I think I get it from my dad.
Okay.
My dad used to have a huge collection of music. Okay, my dad passed away when I was very kid. He was a musical person.
Okay.
So I guess that's where I get it from. He had a collection of music. That's where my roots are. Well. So I remember I used to love everything that had sound. At some point I remember my mom saying, because what would happen if Ref?
Kajambiya told me you don't know anything here, but my friend, the way you're defending me, my goodness.
You see me, I'm only defending, I'm not attacking.
First half is done.
That stuff is done.
So now you can tell us.
Yeah. So like I was saying. So growing up, I remember at home, I love music, and every table, every wardrobe, everything that had sound, I would just find myself playing it. Because that's what my mom would say that the parents see us, so she would say that I would be musical. And another thing I remember, like I said, our dad had a very huge collection of music. So he had those radio cassettes and those vinyl records. So now I remember when I bit younger, like pre-primary, primary one, primary two. So me and my kid brother, when we go to school, we come back home. Like how kids, as kids, and I've seen that a lot with my sister's kids. Like we used to have issues eating food. So I remember our mom would bring out the cassette and the player. And she says, if you finish your food, we shall put in music and we dance.
Wow.
So music was a motivation for us to
Wow.
eat. So we finish the food, they put for us music, we dance. I think if I'm to trace back, that's where my music journey starts from. But that was the love for music. But how I knew that I actually had this gift to write and sing, that was later on when I joined secondary school. So in my senior one. And I think that was actually one thing I'm grateful for. I went to a single sex school.
Okay.
And people have all sorts of, myths about single sex schools, how you guys manage boys alone and stuff. But one of the things I found there is you have liberty to explore and discover yourself. So I'm in this single sex school, and sports. I remember every class had a football pitch. So like it was very hard to be in that school and you can't do anything. But that's where I met guys like Kopi Bly. Kopi Bly made me discover this gift where I am. So now being in that environment, that's when I discovered that I actually can compose music. So we started writing music, doing school talent shows and competitions and stuff like that. Wow. And I remember the first time I entered studio was in my senior five. So senior five, I entered studio, do a first song, I get the studio experience. Yeah, going to campus. But I had given my life to Christ in my senior three. So I joined university, I team up with a friend of mine, but before you know it, as with the pressures of university, we are all over the place. Now we are doing, trying to do secular music and stuff. Until when I was about to finish university, that's when now God tells me that God needed me to come back home. So the first thing I thought I would do would be to do music, because that's the thing I could do. Like if I looked what I can do for God, it was only music. But then the Spirit told me I wasn't ready. And for one thing I'm grateful to God for is that I learned to hear the voice of God very early in my salvation journey. So now that's the first part. Actually, by the time I wasn't even Kajambiya, I had another name I want to tell you. So, Mr. Chigongo.
Hey.
How did you discover that?
A few know that name.
How did you discover that you can beat rugby?
But basically, we thank God for this moment again. It was, for me, it was when I was young. Again, it started when I was young. And I was taken to a school. My mother, I also grew up with my single mother, but the difference was my father was there, but I never knew him. So, as you know, this life, when it's starting, many people go through a lot. I'm one of those people who went through so much. Because I remember my mother had tried this.
Yes.
I was going to score. She did everything for us. She did everything, because I remember she did everything with my grandmother, by the way. Rest in peace, my grandmother. And they used to take us to school. But one day, it was my grandmother's birthday, and then she receives a gift of someone taking me back to school.
Okay.
Now, I was taken deep in the villages of Masaka to start school.
Okay.
That's where I met Christ. Because when we
In
reached
primary.
in baby class, like not
Are
baby
you
class,
kidding me?
it was primary two.
Okay.
Yes, I can say primary two. I don't even remember the year. So in that school, it was called Good Samaritan Primary School.
Okay.
And I think they were starting a foundation. And I was among the kids that started the foundation. So, kama Yesu. Being among those that were starting the school, they gave me a caretaker. And this caretaker was a man of God. He was a pastor. It's called Pastor Kato. I remember him very well. Now, Pastor Kato trained us everything. Offside, be free. From fasting, honoring God. I never knew anything. By the way, it's so amazing when I tell people I was a footballer when I was young. I used to love soccer more than anything. But while I was with Pastor Kato, he's training us, and later did I know that I would be a worshiper. But it came from that place. We were very young in one space, staying in a home with this man of God. There was another woman of God called Pastor Betty.
Okay.
So they took care of us. We were like 38 kids
In P2.
in P2 for the foundation that was starting deep in the suburbs of Chiwangala Masaka. So Nasalarela, Ngendenso. No. I don't understand go to penance because I know with penance you're gonna but
hey, I'm going.
we're told
In the last minute.
in the last minute. My goodness, that is Jesus. Some night, the man of God teaches us Nankasa, how to drum, what things were starting. And so I joined the Nankasa club. I used to play that. And
you're still in P2, right?
now that I've started growing. Now I'm in P4 there, P5. So even in church, we start serving with drums. Me, I never knew those things of Nanga, Piano, and what. We had drums. We had that Christ church. And that's where we used to do everything. So through the prayer, we were trained when we don't know, because we were staying with people of prayer. So because I was staying with a man of God, we started, the first time even I watched people speak in tongues, I almost ran. In fact, I ran out of that church. But it's so amazing. Way back then, the man of God prayed for people and they burst out into tongues, and I'm like, I won't manage this. So I ran out. That starts everything because I was trained from there. I remember from Nankasa, I joined choir. Now the choir was for big people, these women who come to rehearsal with when they're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And then I was the only youngest guy there, and they're telling me to sing bass. So you know those swing. Hey, chombo chabatwala. I started from there. So they taught us. We learned a lot of things while we were growing up, but majorly my music ministry was sparked out of the fact that I was available in a foundation that was starting, and then the man of God training us. Because when I joined choir, then I'm exposed to singing, and singing starts from there. I'm leading in the Sunday school at a young age, memory verses, you stand up and speak all those things. And from there, that thing was growing in me. It was growing in me. I think that if only to speak about what inspired me, I think that inspired my life. Being available in a family of a born-again faith and learning everything while I was young, I understood that I had to serve God through my talent. Yes.
And now, me, what I would like to know, at what point you now discover that actually you have the gift to compose.
The gift to compose. It was on that day, in fact, it was in school. They told us to compose a song just randomly. We had a music teacher, and he was like, compose anything. We have they call it Parents' Day.
Yeah.
So on Parents' Day, they tell us to compose. I think I composed something about AIDS and P6, and I'm composing stuff about AIDS. So we had to sing it in English. I don't remember whether I can sing it now, but the part we had to compose something in English and in Luganda. So the song had the Luganda version already, and they were looking for a part where we can do the English. So I went and I sat down. I remember I was like, God, how can I do this? How can I do this? And I'm like, you know, it's hard to discover that you can write, by the way. You might not even know. But I put my mind on it, and then I came up with words. They sounded like poems. So the teacher was like, these words are good, but it's like poem. Are you going to tell a poem? So I'm like, before you tell me it's like a poem, let me sing it for you. So I sang it, and from there I was like, hey, I can write. Because they even gave me there are those certificates they give for people who have done so well. They have contributed so much on the music of the school. I got that one too. They gave us prizes, the best people at school. I used to get prizes of singing very much because I was available. I think that's when I really knew I can write. But yet, I didn't know that I'm to write gospel music majorly. Yes. It started from there.
So
We have a second match coming. I want to change the team.
hey, one piece.
Let me bring the
The
pace.
India League has the team.
Hey, what do you want to do to me? So this is one of my favorite team also, apart from Arsenal.
Okay, I can see that.
Hey! No! God! Stuff is done. Okay. This comes in from a place. How have you found gospel ministry? Because I can't, for you, Miss Minister Kajambiya, I can't say gospel business. I've tested your work in service, and you're one person I know you can do anything for God. It's not about the music business, but how have you generally found music ministry?
So when now God tells me I'm ready, I wanted to find out why did I have to wait? The answer to that question for me has been the basics for my music. So the reason the Spirit told me the reason I had to wait was two things. Number one, God needed me to be told. And then number two, God wanted to show me that He can supply all my needs according to His riches and glory. That for me, my ministry has never been and will never be about me. Sorry, it's about ministry.
Say that again. That's a wonderful
Yes,
one.
my ministry has never been and will never be about me. Now, this is what God did. So I finished school, I got a job, everything was miraculous. I remember I shared with someone at university when I finished. Someone asked me, which places do you want to work for? And I remember I mentioned National Water, URA, and you. And as a university student, those were places. And so far, I've worked for two of them, but not that I knew anyone there. But so God starts my journey like that. I remember after university, before even graduating, I started working at National Water.
You started working before graduating.
Yeah, like we finished exams, but before the official graduation, before the papers came, I got my first job, which was through recommendation. I was just at home and someone calls me. We are told you're a very good software engineer. Is it true? Long story short, I found myself in National Water. So, but that whole journey, God is trying to teach me something, but at that point I didn't know. So I start working, then God starts to supply my needs. By the time I do my first song, August 2017, which was Bullet, I had some of the basic things that people actually go into ministry for. I remember when I shortly after recording that song, I bought a car. There are some things I can't say about that I've already acquired in terms of property, but also my life. I wasn't struggling. So that way, God was teaching me that He can supply all my needs according to His riches. So when you come into the ministry, even when things are hard, you always remember the God that supplied your needs. So if He supplied your needs before the music, that means even with the music, you should trust Him to supply. So for me, to be honest with you, music hasn't been a very hard journey. If you notice, for example, this year I've only released one song, but I'm not under pressure. I want to release the right song in the right season. It's not about, everyone is releasing the hit song, because that's not how God called me to ministry. And actually, even that time when I was waiting, He was also testing my patience, but also obedience. Now, many people fail the obedience test, but if God realizes that, okay, if this man can be obedient, then, and I understand, especially this topic, I can have it with you because I feel, in a way, we are not from very different spheres or angles in which we view ministry. So but for example, I can't have this conversation with you because people have genuine concerns. They're like, you're saying ministry shouldn't be about money, but to go to studio,
you pay.
I pay.
I know.
If I'm to make a video, I'm going to pay for it. So how am I supposed to survive? But then the whole point is, who called you? Remember when Jesus asks the disciples, when I sent you without us, did you lack? Now that's the point we miss. So for us, we think that, you see, I'm putting in a lot, but if it's God that, if you're sure that God called you, whether you put in, God will supply. Another other thing we also forget. I always tell people that you reap what you sow, but you do not reap where you sow. So someone thinks, okay, I've made an audio of 1 million and maybe a video of 5 million. So I've made an investment of 6 million. So if they invite me for 10 shows and every show they're giving me 600,000, I've brought back my investment, and maybe the other shows I'm going to make it strong. And this is the interesting thing. I can put 6 million in a song. If I'm to calculate the shows I've done, probably that song hasn't brought anything from shows. But then I start to evaluate my life. And the growth that my life is growing at, if I had put that 6 million, probably just invested in something in my life, I wouldn't be doing like that. But you see, I'm sure when God tests your faithfulness, that, you know, like how he sends ravens to feed Elijah. When God tests your faithfulness, like He can work through any other way. So it's not bad for a minister.
So God rewards faithfulness.
It's not bad for a minister to be appreciated for their gift. But what is the state of your heart? Are you doing this, like you say, what they call the music business? So for me, and that's what I tell every young minister out there that is coming up, that at the end of the day, when someone comes and tells me, "Man, I want to sing," the first question I always ask them, why do you want to sing? Because I need to know, because if we haven't dealt with that, then there is an issue. So when I know that, okay, maybe I feel the call of God in my life and all that, then we start from there. So once the heart is true, trust me, ministry will be easy. For me, people look at me. I've had people that have told me to get me to perform, the minimum I need is this. That's what someone has told me. And then those same people, me, I don't have a price.
Me too.
But those same people reach out to me and they're like, man, this man's very Japanese. I got to say,
yet they pay them highly.
I'm telling you, someone said, for me, the bare minimum to get me out of my house is this. Because for me, I'll give you an example. Me, that testimonies I've had that can't equate to any amount of money I've ever been in ministry. There's a young girl that just played my song in her ears, and she had a very bad fever and she was passing out. Just put the song on replay and she got healed.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I can't attach an amount.
Thank you.
So for me, that's it. And anyone out there that wants to do ministry. So the question was how I found it. For me, I'll tell you that my journey has been easy. But what has made it easy is the state of my heart, obedience to God and faith.
No, the boy. Hey. That's Mbappe.
No.
That was almost.
As Ivan T.I.T, because I'm seeing a great minister, I have a very wonderful family, and your life is going on very well. When you're, for example, taking your kid to school, you don't carry ministry to pay school fees, or ministry doesn't pay the bills at home. I don't know, they get the sense of it.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, as an individual, for example, is there something else that you do besides ministry? And if there is something you do besides ministry, where do you draw the line? How do you balance? For example, what takes precedence? Let me say, if you have a business, if you're being called for a business deal and at the same time there is a ministry activity, what takes precedence? Like in terms of priority, like how do you do it? Like start it from the angle of what pays the bills? Because at least when I look at you, even the way you look like someone who's not struggling. So either God is working in some way, or you might be a black dollar deal.
But that's a wonderful one. But before I wouldn't want to start from there, because from also the first discussion we had, after being inspired by these things, there is a place of every minister when you have to perfectly know your mandate as in service. And that's what happened to you when you told me that after during that level, then you met our Mzee, and then started there. We started now it happened to me too. I used to sing a lot. We used to even carry the keyboards. You remember those floppy disk keyboards?
Yeah.
We could carry them on crusades.
So you make your beats and you put them on the floppy.
So you move with your floppy and because we used to move with our floppy disks, and then you don't find the keyboard there. So we could tell this owner, the guy who owns the keyboard, and owning that keyboard, you had to go to a beautiful church in the area because they were not everywhere.
Yeah.
But we would move those with those keyboards, and then we could do our music on crusades, those evening glory concerts and all that. But as I was growing up in this, I'm doing gospel music, I used to ask myself, why am I doing it? Because again, those are some of the questions we don't ask ourselves. But I was blessed in a way that the other understanding of we are serving God that started when we are Musumba Kato and Musumba Peti, they never taught us serving God as a way of business.
Yeah.
Like, it is business to serve the Lord, but it is not, they didn't teach us that it is something we have to do as a career or, to get money. Or,
maybe to help you articulate what you're saying is business to serve the Lord. You know, the Bible says that seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then other things, all these things will be added unto you. So the business beat, when you say it's business, it's like when you seek first the kingdom, these things automatically happen.
Now that's the place where we came from, and it is still now, thank God we met Fanero, but in there it was starting not to be honorable to be a servant of God because of, you know where we come from. But back in the days, 2000, 2001, 2002, being in the altar, at the altar, it was so honorable. We could stand there and memorize the verses and speak. We could feel like we are God's boys. We are Jesus' boys. So it was so fun as we grew up now. From a place of not taking service as anything else to get money out of, we grew up like that. Now there is that level, there is that place whereby you are growing up and other people call you celeb, you are breaking airwaves and music is playing on radio stations, videos are starting to come up. That was the place whereby, okay, now I'm even starting to see, I'm kind of investing in this thing. And then managers come.
Yeah.
People bring contracts for you to sign. I remember I put down like 3 contracts, 4 contracts. I don't want to mention names of companies because they are very, very famous companies here in town. They sign you. They say they're going to give you a car. They're going to give you money monthly. All those things are good. But it dawned on me that I am really serving God. It was a question place. Again, after meeting our man of God, I was like, now, why am I doing this? Majorly, I wanted to make sure I know why I'm singing.
Yeah.
I got my sermons. We are very many, Mr. Kajambiya.
That's right.
If you call all gospel artists in Uganda, you can fill up a stadium. And then I told God, I don't want to be like any other person who has a voice, who is a good vocalist, who can sing because they have what it takes to sing. Some sing because they have the studios, they have whatever it takes to sing. So I went in for a seeking. I was like, God, I need an answer and something that can separate me and gives me a distinction over this if I'm really supposed to serve you. I didn't want to be moving everywhere that I am a gospel artist, yet I don't carry a thing. Because at the end of the day, I had a desire from when I was young, since I grew in ministry. I always desired that each time I show up on stage, Christ be revealed. That was for me. Now, at that level, before I compare, I bring the comparison of the responsibility. You told me I wanted to make sure someone knows where I come from. You say he preaches a sermon and I go back and I got all the music and I don't know, I never wanted to hear it again. You know those moments. I hid everything, like music in an emokweka. And I was like, I don't want to sing again. I want to hear God. So, like a family, the things we do in Fanero family, you don't miss up service. You have to be available. Those things have maintained. Those things have been the core things that have made us. You listen. You sit down literally and listen to your man of God. He preaches to you today. You make sure you go back, listen through the sermons. You make sure you feed on those things. Those things become a reality. I remember after like a year with questions, while listening to sermons and prayer, Yesu came up. And from there, I started interpreting my dream, my call, the call upon my life about music. Because me, I knew my mandate is not to sing gospel music to get something. I knew if anything should come out of this spirit of mine, it should be to the glory of God, number one. Number two, it should be for God to use to redeem another man. I'm supposed to be available to God so that every time a man comes in contact with me, they experience Jesus. Someone should repent and come back. Someone should read us such a way. And that's now from there. Even these things I started, because the other things you talked about, beaters, is a man with gospel music, with a good voice, and they have no job. There's a boy who has good songs. They can do anything with their voice. They are very good with music. But they are pricing it, like you said, but again, the rent is a problem. You understand? So I was like, okay, now, what does the word of God say? I was like, no, I cannot borrow, I cannot beg, I can't. And number one thing we learned from our man of God, Apostle, is he's a hardworking man. I looked for work, my friend. I started praying. In fact, I won't say looking. Work started looking for me because I was serving God. I remember one day signing my first contract. It was, again, working for an American company. And that year, I was amazed. They told me, we are going to give you everything. Don't come. They even gave me an apartment to start working. They told me, don't come with anything. So I get money. I am not supposed to disturb anyone that I want to sing a song. I want to record. So now I'm receiving money. I get my money, put it in my music because I know I'm investing where nothing can reach, where no water to chiwuka yadde mese yonna. I know I'm investing in God. In other words, I was so privileged in my heart knowing that I am contributing. I lose nothing. Like you said, you can spend 6M on a song, not because you want to get money out of it, but because the anointing on your life is bigger than anything that they can give you with money. Why? When that song comes out and it is coming from a right state of heart, like you said, whoever will hear it, it will make them come to God. It will change a life. It will touch a soul. That is our place.
Just sorry to cut you short there, but for me, this because okay now that we're having these conversations, because these are some of the conversations I have when I'm talking to especially people, young ministers that want to come out. Now that's the other thing. For me, even my salvation journey, I told you I got born again in senior 3, but for me, I tell people that I should have got born again way earlier. The reason I didn't, I'm not going to pass but man. So you would say, if this is what salvation looks like, then I'm better off where I am. You get my point?
Amy, I was in it already. You always see me.
But now, besides that, the same thing happened with gospel music. So if you wanted to, if someone told you to give the characteristics of a gospel song, you're going to wear a sound or movie, video, you will get a friend that has a funny camcorder, then they record the video, and that's how we have branded the gospel, and people are taking it for that.
In the forest.
Again. So, but I love our generation. Okay, many guys have called this. So much as we're talking about this whole thing of not doing ministry to get for financial gain, but excellence is a very important thing.
Thank you.
That because someone will say, okay, if I'm not doing this for financial gain, then maybe I'll go to the cheapest studio I can afford. Let's believe God for an excellent one. So I just wanted to check that.
Yes.
Excellence is key. But at the end of the day, you need to sell an excellent good to someone. Let someone look at your song and they're like, I think I need what is on this man. So I just felt like
thank you. That's amazing. And by the way, that's the reason as well I take also time on my music. I don't want to just bring it out because it's precious. Every song of mine, I don't release music because I have very many. No. Like you said, I don't know everything of ours. We come from the same ministry. Things are like the same, but we receive our revelations also from our Father, and He has taught us so much. Coming to a conclusion of that, being a responsible father, responsible husband. It's one thing to be a husband, another one to be a father. Those are two different things, and people don't know. But again, I've come to realize that we are a total sum of what we have been taught.
That's right.
Every person should know that if you don't learn or if you don't sit down and submit and someone speaks in your life, because you can't be your own teacher. You can't be your own man of God, even when you have a gift. I always tell people, you cannot reveal Christ as much as you have your gift. You can only reveal Christ everywhere in this world as much as you know God. The Bible says that those that know their God shall do mighty exploits. So you cannot say, I will sing and people see God. You will sing and people won't see Him. But if you know Him, you will sing and then they see Him because you know Him. Yes. So from that place, we have learned to be fathers at church. We have learned how to handle ourselves. Some of us, generally, if it wasn't my pastor, my man of God, which father would speak to me? I grew up alone. My mother was handling everything. Now I become a man with my single mother. I never had a voice of a father. And now I get this opportunity to receive a father-son relationship while I'm in church. The pastors that have been in my life, and above all, my man of God. You see, Mosaic Grace. And everything we have been taught It is one thing you learn and then keep the things. There is another place when you learn, you apply the word. So I'm able to be there and do my music ministry, not on pressure, because I work. I go to work, I get money, and then serve. I literally use my money to serve God, not because I am going through. Some people are also investing in a feeling of they are working, they think they're helping God. There is a man who has everything and they are singing, thinking they are helping God to sing.
Yeah.
They are helping Jesus to be famous and be great. No. This, we are a work of God. God has wrought this thing in us. The music I'm singing is God given. Everything in me, I'm just translating to this world, the physical world. But everything in me spiritually, God has given me. And out of sitting down and learning and hearing the gospel and be available to serve, from that place there is a blessing that comes to available vessels. And then you start, every man starts to read you as a manual. He reads what you do because it blesses their lives while you're standing on stage, while you're singing on stage. Not because you have the greatest voice or you have the best voice ever, but because there is a way they think you know God. You cannot be good on stage as a minister and your family is failing. Apostle always tells us, your first ministry is home. How can a man be a bishop elsewhere and yet at their home they are failing? So I am sure my first ministry is my first family. And I thank God for the ministry where I come from. We thank God for the man of God. And all these things route from the place of understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and then the Spirit of God. I'm offset. I don't know more a day.
This is the golden question. Of course, there is a young man out there that when you step on the stage to minister, what most people see is the fruit, like the glamour. Get on stage, people are screaming, and there's someone out there they would also want that. Okay? They're like, Ivan, like, for example, sometimes you're being blessed and you're moving, everyone knows you. So, for example, if you're with friends, they're like, man, I'll give you an example. In the world, when someone is in the limelight, everyone wants to associate with them, right? And especially, Abana Wobuala.
Yeah.
And in my naivety, I thought, in the gospel it's different. We are ministering in Bantu locally. So, then I come into this game and then I realize that actually every other day it's a day to be on your guard. And the reason why I think it's very important to talk about this, because I've seen ministers, and I'm not being judgmental, but their books literally dried. And the challenge is because the gifts of God are without repentance. The fact that you can go to studio and sing a song and people jump, but in terms of impact, there's no impact. But that's one thing I saw. So my naivety, I found that I was about to learn a lesson that actually, much as you think this side of Baba, but actually you still need to be on guard. So the issue I want us to discuss is the issue of temptations as a minister. And I want to drive it so much in the direction of women. But of course, for you now, you're a married man. I want to front the one of Abana because I've seen many people fall into that. But I want to also to generalize it as a minister, because when your star shines, of course, the devil wants to dim it. So, as a minister, how do you stand in times of temptation? Because I'm sure there is many people out there, young ministers, that if they don't learn some of these things from men like you, probably it will be the same thing that will lead to their downfall.
There is a man, was it who? Miles Munro. He said something about this. One day I was passing through books and I read something about him. For him, he says, I wish everyone calculates the consequences before they act.
Yeah.
And he says that what helped him so much was that the first time he was tempted to even lay with someone, he said he calculated and he said, okay, I know I'm with this girl, but I'm not going to marry her. And after, I might make her pregnant and I will not take care of this child. I'm still a young man trying to put things together. He says that he ran away.
Yeah.
He took off. Because as you grow up, memories never die. People don't know that we live with our memories till death do us apart. But trust me, in that faculty, there are people who are disturbed by their memories. Up to right now, when they grow up, they stay with their memories. Those things can break and crack their minds and they become some kind of species. And that alone, me, in most cases, when I think of also the consequences, what will happen, the results of this matter, I'm like, okay, why am I into this thing? But again, as a man who is serving God, number one thing you ought to always remember, that you should be able to read in the lines when such things happen. Because it is 100% true that those things can dim.
No.
As much as you're shining with a great talent and with a great gift, you can even feel like you don't want to go back on stage. One time you can feel like you don't want to even be called a man of God.
Yes, yeah.
And that is robbing you. It is taking away the mandate. It is killing everything that has to happen by what God has put in your life. So I would say we should not think that having a gift is enough and then we can do the rest. Oh, by the way, to a certain extent, we need to be serious with God.
Yeah. That's right.
Some people, it is because they are not serious with God. They think they are going to be given second chances. But man, when the devil is when the devil is planning something, it comes beautiful. And some cases, it looks like it is even true. But at the end of the day, where the Bible says he comes to what? To steal?
Yeah, to steal,
kill and destroy. You see? Now, before you are destroyed totally, that guy has to steal you.
Yeah.
And before he has already killed you, now he's destroying you. So those things can't happen at once. He will present those things that you think you want in a way that is totally looks like it's right, but then at the end of the day, he wants you to lose. So there's another place for some people, like you said. There are those categories whereby they are in the same thing, but they still love the Lord.
Yeah.
For a minister, we should never lose our part in the presence of God. But another thing I've found so helpful is to have a spiritual father in your life. Man of God, I told this to one gentleman. I don't know whether I should say this on camera. But if I did nothing and my man of God called me and told me lie down, even without telling me what I did, I would allow, because I know where he has got me from.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
So, by saying that, I'm telling you, if any man is above you, that means you can break. In your greatest mistake, you can be able to open your heart. I always I tell people, if there is any father of your life, whether mentor or spiritual father, who cannot contain you in your days of adversity, then there is something wrong. Because trust me, there are places while we grow up, while we've been growing up, our places as youths, and trust me, you had no idea of getting out of what you did.
Yeah.
Not until you met your man of God, and he says, "Go and didn't know that one or two seven. I know some things our fathers have stood for us when no man could even stand. They could just take us to prison. But then the responsibility of a father, he comes and he says, no, let's do this. Let's talk about it. Call your family. Call your family. They sit in things. There are very, very deeper things we cannot just utter here.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, as a young man who is growing up, as a servant of the Lord, as a minister of the Lord, if you're still going through, everyone goes through this kind of situation. But for every temptation you will get, if you ever get to that place of feeling like, look for your man of God. Look for your spiritual father. Open up.
Yeah, and I think just to chip in a little there on the spiritual fatherhood, I think it's a place of accountability, and that I love that you brought that, because now it kind of makes a lot of sense. Because I'm trying to look at, you see, like I was saying, there are two kinds of people.
Yes,
there is a man that is struggling with sin, like when you check their heart, they're like, like when Paul says, the things I don't want to do, I do. So you're like, this man, like, they need help. Maybe they don't know how to ask for help, but that's the state of their heart. So I think where accountability comes in handy is even before you bring in the aspect of where probably your father summons you and you have to discuss issues. But even before that,
yes,
I've just thought about it, that I can be thinking of doing something. Let me say I get a girl pregnant, right? That, okay, before I know I fear my God and all that, but in that line of accountability, sometimes you think, and me, I'm privileged, and I know you too, that our man of God is not only our father, but it's our friend or a person. That even when he's not there, like the thought of, if I did this,
you're
like,
accountable.
how would my father look me like the disappointment? But that thing, there's a way it hit so hard, and I was looking at it from the heart of the father.
Yes, it hits.
And in my spirit, I'm like, may it never happen that I'm one of the people that have shot my father. So I just wanted to chip in. I think that's the place of accountability. Because if you have someone you account to, that even when they are not there, you're like,
thank you.
But how does this sit with the heart of my father?
And when you account, it means to that place you will always want to present your accountability in purity. Accountability, like you have done what you're supposed to do. And thank God to the men of God. Have a mentor. Have someone that is above you. Those people are wise. I'm telling you, that's why me, even when I was growing up, I was taught so early. I greet every man who is above me like my father. I greet every woman that is above me and I respect even the younger ones. All of them, because you are a minister. Now, some people be like, okay, I might not be able to reach the man of God. Like, I don't have that privilege or what. But if you are serving, that's why our father says, have a place of service. Yes, because if you're doing something in ministry, it means you have a head already, and then someone is responsible for that department, and you will always find a way of at least looking up to someone who is above you. And there are those that find themselves in guilt and judgment. that also kills.
Yeah.
I did this, I can't go back to church.
Yeah.
I did this, and that is another place that when you reach there, the devil is really
I think
taking
that's
you.
the worst place to be,
Yes.
and just to still chip in a bit on that. But that's one thing I've been told, I've learned from my man. He has already said in the altar that no matter how much you mess up in life,
Thank you.
one thing you should do: never leave the presence. That's what the devil wants to do. The Bible calls him the accuser of the devil. When he wants you to do whatever he wants you to do, he shows you that it's the best thing that can happen to your life. And something is telling you, if I don't do this, I will die.
Thank you.
However, the moment you do it, then the guilt he sheds on you. So because that's his specialty, is the accuser of the devil. So now you start feeling unworthy. Then you're like, with all this filth that I have, what am I even doing going back to church? Now that's the worst place to be. No matter how bad you've messed up. If the man that persecuted the church and killed Christians, to the extent that even when he gets an encounter with the Christ, he was going to persecute more Christians in Damascus. If that man ends up writing the biggest part of the New Testament, what makes you think that you messed up so bad that God can no longer accept you? So I just wanted to.
That's so deep. People forget that God is on their side. God wants you to be okay. God wants you to overcome the temptation. Even before you're tempted, He's already on your side. And most cases, even the things that we go through and we are tempted through, sometimes they put us even where God wants us to be. Because there is a man who will do a mistake, and after doing a mistake, that's when the breakthrough comes in. That's when they learn and they be like, I will never do this again. And I'm like, if you did not do that mistake, maybe you would never understand. And it was that place whereby you had to do it, not because you wanted, but from that, you you normalize, you came back to normal and be like, hey, maybe to see where it will be, not Kolachi,
Yeah, just brought to remembrance a scripture, 1 Corinthians 10:13, that says, no temptation has overcome you, save what is common to man. Then it says, God is faithful, that He won't allow you to be tempted beyond that which you are able. But He also says that with every temptation, He also gives you a way out. So that's something very powerful. So it means that actually, even as you're in the temptation, it means it has come your way because God knows you're able, because He can't allow you to be tempted beyond that which you're able. But as we conclude this topic, for me there is one other thing, and for me, I don't know whether it's the same story with you, but for me, I've actually found myself in places where my music ministers to me. And for me to answer this question, I'll just refer to my song called Chat. That song, when I was writing it, the Spirit gave me the revelation, and I'll mention this statement. He said, the degree to which you are attracted to the things of the world is inversely proportional to how much word, or the magnitude of how much word is in your spirit. So, now, you see on the psalmist, in Psalms 27:4, when he desires to dwell in the house of the Lord, to inquire in His temple, I realized the place of the word. So, from the time I got that revelation, every time I feel a strong force pushing me to what I do not want, like to be attracted more to the things of the world, it's just a clear indication of how much word is in my spirit. It's just like food. Okay, now I'm feeling hungry. Later I need to eat. So every time you are in His temple and going in His courts, like never let me swallow down. Oh, okay. That's just an example. But whatever happens, when you're fully connected and yielded, there's a way all these other things do. So for me, just to add on what you say, accountability and all that. So for me, it's a place of the word and giving yourself to yielding to the Spirit of God. Like for it is just automatic. And just like I learned that from Chat today, for me, I just want to encourage someone. Because trust me, the truth is, you'll always know. You start to know government, hey, look at your mobility, like it doesn't just grab you all of a sudden. So the moment you start to notice that, you're like, you know what? I think maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm reading less of the word and listening to less sermons. Yeah. So
Yes.
I felt we needed to discuss this, and
as you concluded, it is so important that if we also lean on the other side of thinking that everything that we shall look for men of God, it might be too late.
yeah.
I've also come to realize that if it is hard for you to understand your man of God while he's serving on stage at the altar, even when you meet them, you will be a stranger. So it is very important that when your pastor is preaching, you understand from there, because that's a place of heaven has opened. The man is giving us manna, is giving us everything.
That's right.
So if you can't understand them from there, and giving, you say the very, very important matter, giving yourself wholly to the word, because the word will instruct you. That's what David says, that I put it in my heart. Nachiteka mu mutima gwange, nachikweka mu mutima gwange.
Yeah, your word have man. I love that scripture.
Thank you.
Your word have I hid in my heart that I may not sin
Thank
against.
you. You realize that it is that word that makes him not to sin.
Exactly. When you hide it in your heart.
And it becomes true when you say that if that amount of word is not in you, automatically your desires, your bodily desires.
Like it's just a pendulum.
Yes.
So we have the word here, we have the world. If I see myself being attracted to this side, it's because I'm not giving this attention. That's right.
That was powerful. That was powerful. Let's apply the word. We thank God for this opportunity to be before you. Ivan T.I.T. Kajambiya. We had a last half to finish.
Let's finish our half.
Okay.
We do whatever has to be.
Thank you.